Hello, lovely humans! It's been a while. More than 3 months has it been, I think, since I last uploaded anything on YouTube. The most recent one we stopped at was Shadow and Bone Part 2, which you should totally go watch if you haven't, especially now that Shadow and Bone is officially renewed for Season 2. Okay, but today's video is not about Shadow and Bone. It's about me. Oh my goodness, this is so cringy and there's hair on my hand. Anyway, greetings from Taipei, Taiwan, from my quarantine hotel. Some updates. So, I went to Brown for my graduate school in 2018, got my degree in 2020, and I worked and lived in Providence for another year. So for the past 3 years, I've lived in merry old New England, where you feel like America does run on Dunkin'. There's just Dunkin' Donuts everywhere in New England and Providence. In late July, I moved away from Providence and I had been traveling since. This traveling period, I call it my museum tour. Before heading back to Taiwan, I really wanted to see museum things as much as I can, have extensive input, see how major cities, how other countries talk about history, tell stories in museum spaces at historic sites, and just have as much input as I can of things that I find inspiring, but I couldn't really find much, if any, of those in Taiwan. Say, Western paintings from before the 19th century, Gothic churches, medieval architecture, horses, and so on. Starting around August, after I moved away from Providence, I went to Philly, DC, New York City, and I went back to Providence for a bit to spend some time with close friends, savor some last memories of Brown's campus. I miss it already. Then in mid-September, I went solo traveling in Austria and southern Germany. I've been to so many museums throughout my travels. It's been very fulfilling and inspiring, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I feel really lucky. My travel itinerary was very simple. Just every day, just this museum, that other museum, historic sites, and that's it. Well, okay, I did go to the Harry Potter store in New York City and it was amazing. I joined one of their VR experiences. I think it's called Chaos at Hogwarts with Dobby. It got me really hopeful to see how VR and other technological advances could be applied in storytelling in museum spaces, you know, invite everybody in. Okay, allow me to say, being able to experience through VR how it might have been like, you know, to go through platform 9 3/4 is just amazing. Anyway, during my time on the East Coast in the US, I got to see so many of the museums that had been on my list but I hadn't been, as well as museums that have been, you know, coming up in my class discussions at Brown, and I finally went. In DC, I had a really great time because, of course, DC is the base for the Smithsonian Institution and museums. It just feels so good to have so many powerful museums available to you, and they're all free just along the beautiful National Mall. It's just great. Oh, I stayed at the historic Anna Julia Cooper house when I was in DC. From what I understood, Frederick Douglass and I think Harriet Tubman, as well as many other prominent people in history, have all spent some time at that house at one point. It's just, I felt really lucky to experience that energy from such a house. Oh, and there are also 2 super adorable fluffy cats in the house when I was there. Anyway, my time in DC was great. I revisited several of my favorite Smithsonian museums and got to visit some new ones like the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I highly recommend it. I think I spent more than 6 hours and it still wasn't enough. Make sure to check it out when you're in DC. It's absolutely worth it. My visit to Austria and Germany was just so rewarding. In Austria, I went to Vienna and Salzburg, while in Germany, I visited Munich and Nuremberg, all because of the historic and cultural scenes these cities could offer. The highlight of my whole trip is definitely the Kunsthistorisches Museum in Vienna. And yes, I did practice how to pronounce that word. Being able to see all those paintings that I studied, I did research on, I taught when I was a TA in university it's just still one of the most magical moments I could ever feel in my life, I think. Seeing paintings by Bruegel the Elder, Dürer, larger-than-life altarpieces by Rubens, and there's this room just from eye level all the way to near the ceiling, just full of Titian and Tintoretto. It's just, so beautiful. I was so in awe. In addition to all the wonderful input I have, I find it so rewarding of solo traveling is that, you know, when you get yourself to places, you figure everything out by yourself. It feels like such a personal, fist-pumping moment that, yes, I've done this all by myself. Like when I was in Salzburg, I actually met this very friendly fellow solo traveler from India, and we met at the Mozart's Birthplace Museum. She highly recommended that I go to Hallstatt. So the next day, I woke up before 7 a.m., got myself on a bus, transferred 2 times, finally arrived in Hallstatt for my day trip. It was picturesque, it's so worth it. In Hallstatt, I made it to the world's oldest salt mine. The salt mine tour over there is so well done. I'm just imagining such a powerful team behind all of this experience. It's just very well curated. I feel very inspired. And I do plan to make a video about the Hallstatt salt mine. I'm just saying it here so I hold myself accountable and I really do it and be productive instead of. On that note, now I'm in my quarantine hotel and I have to be here for another 11 days. I want to make videos. I want to reflect on my journey for the past 2 months, dive in and do more research on all the wonderful things and input that I got, organize my notes. Like I have so much in my on my phone and it's a mess, and make them into some good videos, hopefully, for myself and for you. I will focus on museum-related content, of course, and, you know, all the nerdy awesomeness that I like to talk about. I know that it's impossible to do most of the things one envisions, let alone doing everything, so I would only select a few museums, a few experiences, travel stories that I want to tell. They will not be, you know, those all-inclusive content that you seek to have from, say, a cultural bureau, because it's just me. There's only so much I could do. These videos will be about my personal observations and experiences, reflections. I like to focus on a few interesting themes, fun facts, and my favorite artists. Like when I talk about Nuremberg, you will hear me talk a lot about the enigmatic, talented painter Albrecht Dürer. And the content wouldn't all be in YouTube video forms because these videos are just so time-consuming to make. I feel that some things would just fit better in forms of Instagram posts, reels, and short videos, and so on. Honestly, I don't know how much I could get done these days, but I will try my best, stay true to myself, and I really believe that quality is better than quantity. Nothing can be perfect. I'll likely make mistakes as well, and that's okay. We all do. It's normal because we're all still learning and figuring things out in life. Wow. Okay, that was philosophical. Anyway, all I was trying to say is that in addition to videos here on YouTube, I will post more often on Instagram, and from time to time on Instagram, you can see what I had for lunch, if that's of your interest. Anyway, make sure to follow me on Instagram, and if you feel like this channel looks like something you're interested in, subscribe, and feel free to unsubscribe if you feel that this sucks. It's fine. Go have a great life. Farewell. Yeah, I think that is all for today. Hope you're all staying healthy physically and mentally. And I'll see you anon. Bye! Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. Okay. Anyway, sorry I was burping. I got a wand. Let me show you my wand. Ta-da! I got a Hermione Granger wand, of course, and I got my name carved on it. Yes, this is my precious. Pun unintended to another fantasy series, if you know what I'm talking about. This is too cringy. I might just leave this in outtakes. This is hard. Oh my goodness. Put it back. Oh. Where was I?